The following podcast contains spoilers for The Rabbit Hole. Glenn, would you like to take a trip down the rabbit hole?
No.
This has nothing to do with The Matrix, so that's good. You have been warned!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Mangusto.
Oh, I'm so excited every week to hear how you're going to say it this time.
Yeah, I try to change it up, but this time I dashed in a little bit of cocoa.
A little cocoa.
Little cocoa.
A little cocoa or cacao.
Cocoa, yeah.
Cocoa. Chocolate. It's delicious.
Miguel, I got a question to ask you, my friend.
What's that?
How are you doing?
I'm good, but more importantly, how are you?
I'm feeling fantastic. I got some news, buddy.
What?
I got some news.
What?
And this isn't like the actual news segment, but I'm back into work, which means theaters are reopening, dude.
Yes.
Which means we can watch movies again.
Yes. I plan on going there many times this coming week.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is going to forget about me. I'm going to forget about my wife. And that's just the way it's going to happen.
And then we can finally get married the way we want it to be.
Can you answer me this? Is your Regal Theater getting Peninsula and IMAX?
I have no idea what the lineup is yet.
Okay.
So far, all I know is that we are for sure getting Tenet.
I assumed so.
But I haven't looked too far into it.
The crazy thing is they're still opening, even though both New York, I'm pretty sure New York at least, and California are not opening.
New York,
theaters.
actually, I just passed an article that said they have no idea when they're going to reopen still.
Yeah, so the fact that they're still open with the two biggest markets not open, I mean, they had to do something. They were bleeding, but that's cool. But with that in mind, what movies have you watched this week? Last week of us being movie theaterless.
I only watched one actual movie, but I did watch a documentary and I watched our movie. So
cool.
That documentary I was watching a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure you may or may not remember, was the Undertaker: The Last Ride. There was like 4 more episodes that I never finished, and I finished it this weekend with a buddy of mine. It was really good, man. Cool. His whole career is. It was life-changing for a lot of people, obviously himself.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was like he could have been like a professional basketball player, but he was like, nah. That full ride to college for basketball, forget about it. I'm the Undertaker. It's just crazy to see that. But yeah, I finished that, and then I watched a movie called Project Power on Netflix, which has Jamie Foxx in it, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Dominic Fishback. There's some people in here, but the most prominent were those 3 that I named. And so this is basically that Netflix kind of air quotes superhero movie. Superhero being that they're not really superheroes; they're just given powers from a pill. So it's like Limitless and Marvel met in some sort of way.
Yeah.
Or technically, I guess DC. It's a little bit darker than Marvel. And God, I'm not gonna lie, there was some parts where I thought it was cool. But it was massively boring, and I've never seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt act so bad.
Ooh, that's rough.
It's weird when, like, it might have been his character, maybe his direction, but I've never. This hurt to watch in JGL form.
He's kind of fallen off, and I don't know why. Like he just stopped getting cast in things.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter how hard he tries.
Okay, that's enough out of you.
Yes, sir.
So that's all you watched?
That is all I watched.
All right. Well, I think you will be surprised, and this is not being sarcastic at all, that other than Rabbit Hole, I only watched one movie. Yeah. As I said last week, it's the NHL playoffs, and what happens when the NHL playoffs are on is I fill a lot of my empty time watching playoff games. You know, I am like most people are with football, where if a hockey game is on, it doesn't matter who's playing, I will watch it.
You're a dedicated fan, and we love you.
Yes, obviously, my favorite team's the Flyers, and they're doing real great. But I just like watching hockey. I like it on the background. It brings me comfort. So I only watched one movie, and that was The Hunt, which for some of you who will remember, was postponed last year because I guess Republicans were all up in a fuss because it is about, Democrats hunting Republican like radicals and whatnot, like Trump supporters and everything, which is true. But what they fail to realize is that the Trump supporter Republican people are kind of the good guys in this.
Yeah.
So it's just completely baffling to me why they like it is bad to both sides. But if a movie is going to make one of your conspiracy theories true, why do you really care? Like, that's what the whole thing is. It's like this conspiracy theory that everyone thinks is a lie is actually true. And yeah, it's dumb.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just confused. Like, I'm not mad that they were upset about it, but I'm confused why they're upset about it. Like, it makes them look a lot better than literally every movie, while still pointing out their faults. Like, it doesn't let them off the hook completely, but they are the people you're rooting for the whole time.
Yeah.
So I'm just confused. I don't know, but it's a good movie. It's fun. I really enjoyed it. Betty Gilpin is great in it. For those of you who know, she's in Glow and other things. I don't remember anything else she's in, but she's a really great actress and she kicks ass in this. So does Hilary Swank. Her and Hilary Swank have a crazy fight scene in it. It's incredible. But yeah, that's all I watched this week. Let's jump into some news.
Absolutely.
So my news for this week, Lawrence Fishburne will not appear in The Matrix 4, and he was not approached to appear in The Matrix 4, which he has no bad blood about.
Okay. Well, he's in John Wick now, so he doesn't even care.
Yeah, I mean, he's a storied actor. He's got so many roles that he's been in, so many like incredible roles. Yes, The Matrix is just his most famous role, but he's fine with it, and if it's not like they went around. However, one of the reasons, like this reason has not been confirmed, but one of the reasons in this article I'm reading is dumb as shit, and it's because his character dies in an online multiplayer game that the Wachowskis blessed as a continuation of the film storyline. So he died off screen in a video game that I hadn't even heard of up until this point.
Interesting.
And so that's just one of the reasons. That's not confirmed by the Wachowskis
the video
at
game
all.
Lore?
That's what the Wachowski said when it came out, but they might have just said that to push the thing more. I mean, that kind of happened with Pitch Black and
true.
What's the other one? Chronicles of Riddick, where there was like a 30-minute animated thing that was canon, even though no one saw it.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I don't care enough about the Matrix sequel. Like, I'm going to see the shit out of it, but I don't care enough to really be that upset about it. That's just, if that is the reason, that's a very weird reason to me.
I think the most exciting thing about Matrix 4 for me so far is that it was going to be in line with John Wick 4.
Yeah. Now, not so much.
Now, probably not going to be.
Yeah. Although I heard, and I could be wrong, I heard that because theaters are opening up, Bill and Ted Face the Music is actually coming out in theaters. I don't know how true that is.
Maybe we'll get a lineup somewhere in there. With
legitimately Keanu. Only heard it from a comment on Facebook.
Yeah.
So it could be complete bullshit. But
yeah, I'm excited to see what the news is here for some movies coming out and when they're going to be released.
Yeah, I'm just excited to go back. If they need me to wear a hazmat suit, I will purchase a hazmat suit and go. I just want to be back in theaters. I want a reason to actually yell people for sitting close to me instead of just doing it and being the weird guy that does it. Because I don't like people sitting next to me if they don't have to. And I never yelled at anyone, but I just gave them glares and then moved. But yeah, it's word to the wise. If you're in an almost empty theater and you sit next to the only other person in the theater, you're an asshole.
It's true.
Got to give it at least 2 rows buffer, at least, preferably more. But that is the only time I won't be upset.
True.
Anyway, that's the news I had. What did you have for news today?
For news for me, I saw a video game one, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna take that. And so Firewatch movie based on the 2016 video game is in development. Obviously,
Firewatch, is that where you're like a
you're like
ranger?
a forest ranger, and
I haven't played that, but I've seen playthroughs of it from Markiplier. And
it's a really good game.
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous made game. It was interesting enough to keep me, who is not interested in video games at all, and the only reason I watch Markiplier is because he's hilarious when he freaks
100%.
out. But like that game was actually very intriguing to me, and I watched the entire series on that.
Yeah, it's what's really cool about that game is it's such a simple story that even like the people who don't really play video games could enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like completely abstract or anything like that. It's a simple story. I don't want to spoil anything, but some things happen within this man's watch in the forest that he comes across, and it gets really dark and sad. And like his little backstory is really sad too, of why he's even being a forest ranger. It's a really good game. I'm just debating whether or not in my head does it need a movie. Because I think the beauty of it is that you get to interact with such a small story, but it's so impactful in a way.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it'll be as impactful as the video game.
Yeah. I also don't think it's really scaled to be a movie or anything.
Yeah. I could see it being like a really cool, quiet, independent character study movie, like from A24.
True.
Where like there's a little bit of mystery in it that keeps the people who didn't know what they're getting into intrigued, and then there's the element of just kind of silent scenes, just watching someone interact with the environment. So it could be good.
Squirrels or turtles or anything.
Yeah, I'm sure because it's based off a video game, they'll go like the horror or sci-fi or thriller aspect, and just
especially with the
blow out the budget.
The story at the mid game to end.
Yeah,
they might go more thriller than anything.
Yeah, but it could be a really beautiful like independent film that is just kind of.
I don't know exactly who they're going with yet as far as companies go.
Yeah,
but I mean they seem to have what they want, I guess.
Do they have any directors or casting attached yet?
To Snoot Entertainment, which is a production company built the roster of well-received indie films such as Blind Spotting and Little Monsters. So there's hope. Oh,
Little Monsters. Okay, Little Monsters. I'm thinking of something else. It's got a similar name, but Little Monsters is with Lupita Nyong'o, Josh Gad, and it's like a horror comedy. So yeah, if they keep it small like that, it could be really good. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I mean that's really all I got. I'm hoping like you said that they keep it small and they keep to the story because it was a really good story, really cool story. And,
I agree.
It could do well in the right hands, but that's a lot of video game movies, but we know how those turn out, and that's what I'm most afraid of, right there. But that's it for me. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to Rabbit Hole.
Oh, boy. Rabbit Hole. Directed by John Cameron Mitchell, Rabbit Hole is about a life for a happy couple is turned upside down after their young son dies in an accident.
I forget that he's not here sometimes. Like maybe he's just hiding under the bed. He's gonna pop out like he used to do. He's trying to make things nice.
You can't, all right? I'm sorry. Things aren't nice anymore.
Feels like maybe I don't feel badly enough for you. Maybe I'm not feeling enough.
Something's gotta change. I can't do this like this anymore. It's too hard.
You had to take pauses, but you didn't trip over your words.
I know. What tripped me up the most was in the beginning is about a life.
Yeah,
for a happy couple.
That happens to me all the time.
I'm like,
but that's the key to public speaking is if you're reading something to pause if you find yourself about to stumble instead of saying like or
instead of just going for it and then saying somebody's name I don't even know anymore. Rabbit Hole is written by David Lindsay Abair.
Based on his play.
Based on his screenplay. Or I'm sorry, his play. Yes,
play,
I'm sorry. This is the screenplay. Stars Nicole Kidman, Aaron Eckhart, Diana Wiest, Sandra Ho's in here that I completely forgot about last week.
Sandra and Giancarlo Esposito.
Absolutely. And Miles Teller.
Downingtown represent.
Damn straight. So funny story.
Okay.
I've watched this movie.
You're giving me shit for having seen it last week.
But like, it was one of those. So whenever I lived at my dad's, basically the only channel that I really cared for was like HBO, and this was one of those HBO movies that I watched, kind of just not paying attention. But I have seen it before, and it didn't click until I saw Miles Teller and Nicole Kidman having their interactions together. I'm like, at first I was like, I've seen the trailers for this. Yeah, I've seen the trailers for this. And then like they started having their interactions. Like, wait,
I've seen the whole damn movie.
Have you seen this movie, you son bitch? Turns out I have seen this movie, so this is going to be a fun podcast today.
Yeah, I saw it. I feel like I was in college when I saw it back in 2011 or 2012. It was one of those movies. I was either on an Aaron Eckhart kick or a Nicole Kidman kick, just kind of going through all their stuff. And
yeah, for me back then it was Aaron Eckhart because he was pretty much fresh off of The Dark Knight, and I wanted to watch more of what he was in.
Yeah, definitely.
And his butt chin.
And I tell you, this movie is depressing as all get out. Like, I mean, the plot itself just goes to show how depressing it is, and it's hard to watch people grieve. You know, even in a film, it's just, especially when you got such great actors who make it believable, and to see two forms of grieving meet head on and kind of conflict with each other, creating its own conflict in the process. And they're both kind of not letting each other grieve in the way they want to, makes it that much harder to watch, because it's one of those things where like you get where they're both coming from for the whole time, so you don't really take a side like you do with most movies.
I was gonna say it's very tough to even pick a side, because like Nicole Kidman's character is kind of being a dick about the way she's going about it.
Yeah.
But she's like trying to get rid of some stuff, not like red air quotes, but like, you know, just kind of like put them away. And Aaron Eckhart is moving on.
He's being more passive about it, but he's also like, not letting her
getting rid of it.
Yeah, he's not letting her grieve in her own way. Even if he's more passive about it, it's you get where they're both coming from. Like, I completely understand why Nicole Kidman wouldn't want reminders of him everywhere. I completely understand why Aaron Eckhart would want reminders of him everywhere. And it's a very realistic depiction of a couple grieving and their forms of grieving conflicting with each other. It's really wonderful writing and directing from both David Lindsay Abair and John Cameron Mitchell.
Absolutely.
And of course, knockout performances. Nicole Kidman got nominated for an Oscar for it.
I'm surprised Aaron Eckhart didn't get nominated, because he had some scenes where he kind of stole it himself.
Yeah, I would agree.
Especially when he was kind of just yelling that, like, he came home and like everything's just not like there. He's like, just yelling, and it was pretty powerful.
That was a rough year for actors. I mean, I don't know if he'd be considered. I would feel like he's considered a lead role, not a supporting. That year he would have gone up if by some chance they allowed 6 nominees. Colin Firth, who won for The King's Speech, James Franco for 127 Hours, Javier Bardem for Beautiful, Jeff Bridges for True Grit, Jesse Eisenberg for The Social Network. And if it was supporting, he would have gone against Christian Bale for The Fighter, Jeffrey Rush for The King's Speech, Jeremy Renner for The Town, John Hawkes for Winter's Bone, and Mark Ruffalo for The Kids Are All Right.
All right, I get it. Damn.
So, yeah, like that, I'm still like, I'm not shocked, but it's just...
He definitely deserves some more credit than...
that was a very rough year for anyone with a small movie like this to
True.
break through.
And I mean, just those two together were great.
Oh yeah, they had a great chemistry. You believed them as husband and wife, even though they were kind of fighting the entire time. Like it felt very real. The one thing that I'm kind of conflicted about, like Aaron Eckhart in preparation for this role, pretended to be a grieving parent and went to one of those support groups to kind of hear people.
Yeah.
Which, in one sense, like, because he didn't tell them up front, feels intrusive. But I also understand why he kind of, that would be an oversight on his part. Like, it's kind of a dick move, and I'm sure in hindsight he's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So I'm a little conflicted about that. I don't personally think that it's the worst thing any actor has done in order to prepare for a role, but it is extremely intrusive. But also, in a way, it paid off.
Yeah, I definitely would say that he probably should have gotten some sort of, yes to that. But like
it
definitely paid off. He killed it in this movie, in my opinion. Definitely my favorite performance of his, other than Harvey Dent.
Absolutely. I'm sure that if he went around to enough support groups, eventually they would have said yes. But he didn't do that. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's a fantastic performance, and I think it's hard work paid off. Just a little shady in the way he went about it, but it's not. Worse things have happened.
I completely forgot in the middle of this movie that the interactions with Miles Teller and Nicole Kidman. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I didn't put 1 + 1 together that he was the one that accidentally killed this kid or their kid.
I thought that they did that really well, because you're kind of like,
why is this woman
maybe it was just me being a college
kid?
kid. Maybe it was just me being a college kid, but I just remember thinking, like, is she trying to fuck this kid?
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? And then I slowly remembered what was going on. I'm like, oh, okay, Glenn.
Yeah,
get your mind out of the gutter, bud.
He says I might have been going a little fast, and you're just like, what? Oh, right. But yeah, I mean, that didn't happen this time around, just because I did remember the plot and I remember Miles Teller's part. But they really do a beautiful job with that, with keeping his character, or the audience, in the dark with his character.
Yeah, he was definitely mysterious until obviously you figured out what was going on with his.
Oh yeah, and I liked how, it would have been very easy for a writer to make him defensive and kind of lash out specifically when Aaron Eckhart's character lashes out at him. But he's just like very passive the entire time, which really goes to show you that, like, he's a legitimately good kid who didn't even really make a mistake. Like, he was maybe going 2 miles over the speed limit. And just, bad
wrong
timing.
Place, wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time, bad timing. Just a complete accident. Like, there's no reason he should even be in prison with that in mind. And it would have been so easy to make it, he's a bad guy and he killed this kid. But it really gives a very touching understanding of people who are in that situation, who are often overlooked because they are the ones that caused the death, even though it wasn't really their fault. It's often overlooked, the trauma that they go through, knowing that had they just gone down a different street or stopped somewhere along the way, then things would have been completely different. That's a trauma that I feel like is often completely overlooked. Understandably so, because losing a kid is more traumatic than that, but I really enjoyed that touch. And Miles Teller performed it beautifully, in my opinion.
He did. I really like the way they incorporated the comic book too. Like, they didn't make it too big of a thing the whole time.
I thought she was making it like just art for a little bit.
Yeah, and then you find out he was doing it this whole time, and then you it wraps up at the end with the whole story and everything. Like, I thought they didn't make it the biggest theme in the world. They casually did it during the movie, and you got to see the end result with everything that happened there.
Yeah, and instead of a lot of less experienced writers would have been like, oh, they just wrote it in the scene where she talks. He explains it to her being about multiple timelines or multiple universes, and she's like, oh, I kind of like that, where there's a version of me out there that's just enjoying life.
Yeah.
A lot of unexperienced writers would have just thrown that in without building it up to begin with.
Yep.
And they do it so beautifully here, where you just see him putting together that picture that looks like trumpets that you kind of learn are magnifying glasses in a way that have abstract depictions of what that universe is for this family.
Yeah.
And it really just threads the theme throughout in a very clean and smooth way that, you know, very few people would be able to do well. And I don't want to say that. I'm sure there's others that would do it, but it's something that...
Yeah. I know. I mean, I know what you're saying. But
yeah,
yes.
like if you don't talk about a script, it's not something that would really come up. A lot of people don't realize when you write a script, then you talk about the script pretty much until it's shot, just to make sure that like the themes and the subtext is understood. You don't just write it and go, here, make this.
Yeah. What else I thought was really awesome about this movie is there's a lot of comedic timing in it that, like, in movies like this, it feels forced, but there's a lot of comedic timing in this movie where it's just like a good chuckle instead of just like, oh, ha ha, slap your knee.
Yeah.
Like there's little moments where like for instance, since we were just talking about it with the comic book, Nicole Kidman and Miles Teller on the bench, and she's like, is this one character your dad? He's like, no, it's just an English teacher. You're reading too much into it.
Yeah.
I thought it was just funny. There's like a lot of moments in this movie where it's just lines delivered, and then they're just funny the way it happens, because it's like such a dramatic movie that it's nice to see in this movie just a nice little kind of nudge joke, just like, yeah, like people getting high in a car because and then they're having fun.
And I kind of, to add to that, as terrible as it is, but kind of like poking fun at the people who revel in their rage. Like at the support group, when they are high, there's that guy that's just like, tonight's rage night.
Yeah.
And you guys know I'm more comfortable expressing rage. And then he just kind of, even though he had a kid that died of leukemia, he just seems like a douche nozzle. Not that he deserved or his kid deserved to die.
No.
But it's just the way he's expressing himself. You're just like, okay, dude. Like,
yeah, like even if these guys are laughing, like in my mind, there was so many different ways for people to grieve, and it's just like, at a certain point, you kind of just crack up. You're just like, in the head.
Like, what are we doing?
He was just like, it's funny that my daughter died of leukemia or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he was just like, he was making it all about him, which like I get, but he's one of those people that just because this terrible thing happened to him, no one else can have any problems. Yeah. Which I think is what the screenwriter was trying to comment on. Is that there are people out there who are just like, oh, I had this major tragedy happen to me. No one else can ever complain about anything in the world.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think it was so much saying that like this guy, and I know you didn't say this, but it's not saying that this guy kind of deserves his pain, but it's just, it's kind of contrasting how Aaron Eckhart, Sandra Oh, and Nicole Kidman are grieving versus this guy. Not that there's any correct way to grieve, but there are better ways to grieve.
That's the really cool thing about this movie is there's so many different forms of grief in this. Even like the mother, like everybody in this film's got like a different form of it, and they show it so well without making it seem like you're being added with too many characters and too many plot lines. It's about Aaron Eckhart and Nicole Kidman and their life, and then it kind of just everything develops so well within them. Yeah, like it forms so perfectly. In my opinion.
And one thing we haven't really touched base on is Nicole Kidman's sister, played by Tammy Blanchard. She's pregnant throughout the majority of the film, and it's that I think that was a nice touch that to kind of see how Nicole Kidman's grief changes throughout, where in a way she's being overbearingly supportive of her sister.
Yeah.
To the point where she refuses to stop when her sister asks her to stop, and it turns into this awkward confrontation. Where it's just like, if I could just help you take care of this baby, I can maybe move on from my baby. And it was so subtle and so natural in the way it's done. That's just kind of the running theme of this. It's a very natural, realistic depiction of the many forms of grief and how everyone has their own form of grief, whether they are straight up victims like Nicole Kidman and Aaron Eckhart, or victims of circumstance like Miles Teller.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that feels like it could feel like a long movie, but this is only 90 minutes long, but it still feels faster than that. Like it
could have
really,
at least even been 15 minutes longer.
Yeah,
Easy.
yeah. And then it's not something where it has answers for you in the end either. They're just talking about what they're gonna do, and they're describing this get together they're gonna have with their friends, and then Nicole Kidman just says, "What do we do after they all leave?" And Aaron Eckhart just says, "I don't know." And it's beautiful because it doesn't try to provide answers. It just says it's just saying you gotta try to move on.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you don't, but you got to at least try, which I thought was the most beautiful part of the entire thing, is that it doesn't. So many movies like this try to provide answers or try to say something, and this isn't really saying something.
They want to give it to you.
Yeah, it's not really saying something. It's just like, hey, this is what it looks like. It's okay that there are no straight answers. And, I've never dealt with grief like they have. Probably the hardest grief I had to deal with was my childhood dog. And I'm sure, I don't know for sure, but I'm fairly positive that losing a child is worse than losing a dog.
Yeah.
Although he was my child, damn it.
He was my baby.
Yeah. But it's a brilliant movie. It's extremely well done, and keeps you interested the entire time.
I think if I had to pick out any flaws, I wish they spent more time with maybe Aaron Eckhart, like trying to interact with some of the kids' things. They had the phone, and then Nicole Kidman accidentally deleted it, and then they had that scene at the end where he was like sleeping in his kid's bed. But that was kind of it in comparison. Like I mean, besides the paintings on the fridge, I just wish he spent more time with it. But if I'm trying to point out a flaw, which I don't want to do, but
and like I said, if he's not considered a leading role, he would be a supporting role. This is definitely Nicole Kidman's movie. But it could equally be just about both of them, because he's a significant part. But I agree that is probably the biggest flaw, if not the only flaw.
Yeah, and that's like that's literally not even a big flaw, because there was plenty of interaction there.
Yeah, it's 100% nitpicking at this point.
Yeah, like, I just wanted more.
yeah, and I think it could have been beautiful to, like you said, see him interact with the pictures.
Yeah,
maybe go down into the basement after she put the stuff in the basement. When he particularly felt like he was missing his son.
Yeah, and then you even had a really good scene with the dog, but heartbreaking at first, but then it was like completely heartbreaking at second.
Yeah. And I'm glad it ended the way that scene ended the way it did, because it made you really not like him for a second, but then you quickly remember that he's a grieving man, grieving father, and you kind of forgive him. But
and also, that dog should not have a long leash like that.
No, that dog is way too hyper.
Especially if it just accidentally killed your son.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's all I got.
Same here. So, with that being said, let's move on to the judgment, shall we?
Please, Daddy.
Glenn, this is your choice. So, will this be a shelf boy?
I really, really have a hard time seeing this on any shelf that's, worthy of any note besides glory and fame.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I mean, this movie's killer, especially if like you've been through any grief in your life. I mean, I've never lost a child, but I've been through grief plenty of times. This is definitely a great movie for almost anybody.
Yeah, I agree. It is it's very well done. You look at the plot line and you're just like, I don't know if that's like going to keep me interested for 90 minutes, but it really paces itself well and evolves throughout the film to kind of change it up, even though it is about the same thing the entire time. And
it's not just like a Debbie Downer of a movie. It's got like comedic moments and just like it's a good movie.
Yeah, and in the end, it makes you glad about life in a way. Yeah. So I would agree that it does belong on the shelf along with Apostle and Handmaiden.
And Handmaiden.
And others, of course. I think we're up to like 40-something now.
Yeah, there's a bunch on there.
Yeah,
we need to update that list soon.
I was kind of embarrassed because I thought that list was, we've only had 67 episodes and we already have that many movies. But then I remembered like the first half of our episodes were 2 movies each.
Yeah.
So it's really not that much.
I mean, we're doing pretty good considering.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. So Rabbit Hole makes it onto the shelf. It becomes a shelf boy and is on a mountain of film reels with the little boy saluting to...
I'm waiting for like the future when we get like a little animation thing going on and it's just a kid just like there's a flag, but the flag's a shelf.
Yeah, if
somebody
anyone's listening and wants to do that.
A flag that's actually a bookshelf.
Yeah, if anyone wants to do that, feel free.
Please.
Yeah, we will accept that. But yeah, that brings us to our plugs for next week. Glenn, because it is your week, you go first for plugs.
Okay.
What is your plug?
I actually just saw this, I think, yesterday. So Space Jam: A New Legacy is that new LeBron James Space Jam movie, otherwise known as basically Space Jam 2. A lot of people don't want it to happen. I'm not going to lie when I say I don't want it to happen, but I remember how impactful it was for my childhood, the first one. And I'm not going to deny if it's going to make an impact on like a bunch of other kids here in this Zoomer world that we've got now. So mine is going to be the first ever look at LeBron James in his Space Jam movie. And basically all it is just him walking in his Space Jam outfit.
Ooh.
So it's like a 40-second thing.
Yeah, Space Jam for me was the first movie that I watched that I was interested in how they made it. Because back then I knew that like cartoons and live action were separate.
Yeah.
I was a little old enough to know that there's a difference. And I really wanted to. So Space Jam has a really special place in my heart because of that. It's one. When people ask me like what movie made me want to become a filmmaker, there's probably like anywhere between 3 or 5. The Mummy being one of them.
Yep.
Space Jam being one of them. And then a lot of people are surprised when I say this, but the writing in The Village is great. I don't care what anyone else says. Like, you might not like the movie, but the dialogue in it is beautiful. So that is one of the other movies. But that has nothing to do with my plug. My plug is in celebration of movie theaters opening. By the time this comes out, they would have opened, Regal Theaters would have opened over the weekend.
Yep, for about 4 or 5 days.
4 or 5 days. And so one of the films playing at Regal Cinemas that are open is the sequel to Train to Busan, which I mentioned earlier.
You know what's funny? I know you're about to do your plug, but I passed that poster today and I was literally baffled. I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah. I had no idea.
When, what, why, how?
I had no idea that they were releasing it in theaters. I thought it was going to be like a straight to streaming thing.
Yeah.
But it is not. It is Peninsula, which is Train to Busan 2. It's not. It's in the same universe. It's the only cinematic universe that I will allow to happen. But it is. That's going to be in theaters. So Peninsula official trailer 2, Train to Busan 2 zombie movie trailer.
미쳤어? 거길 또 들어간다고?
You get the truck, come back with the money. That's $2.5 million per head. If you come back alive.
On
So to answer your
YouTube.
question earlier, we've got a poster of it.
We got a poster of it.
I don't know if we're getting it or not, though.
I know that they're playing. I think they're going to be playing it in IMAX because King of Prussia is playing it in IMAX.
Okay.
But that is my plug for this week. That brings us to our assignment for next week in Glenjamin Button. We've done my movie, we've done your movie, and now is the time for Netflix Roulette.
Time.
For those of you who don't remember, or this is your first time listening, Netflix Roulette. Every third week, we let Netflix Roulette decide. We do the spinning 3 times, and we pick whichever of the 3 we want to watch. The rules are that it has to be released at least a year ago, and yeah, that's really the only rule.
That's pretty much the rule.
We used to have more rules, but then it got too complicated. So those are the only rules. So without any further ado, here comes the first spin.
I guess technically the other rule has to be it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's also on Netflix. But I mean, so it is The World Is Yours. A small-time dealer dreams of another life but can't afford it. To escape, he must accept one last job involving Spain, drugs, the Illuminati, and his overbearing mother. It's directed by Romain Garvis. It is written by Karim Bukercha and adapted by him. Also written by Noah Debre and Germaine Garvis. It is starring Karim Leclou, Isabel Adjani, Vincent Castle. Hey, that's a name I know. And Olaya Amara. Let me just click on this to make sure that it is indeed there. We've been kind of screwed over in the past where... Okay. The World Is Yours is definitely on there. So that is spin number 1. The World Is Yours.
All right.
I believe it to be a Spanish film, like from Spain, Spanish. Let me just check. Ooh, French. It's a French film. So screw my first comment. Here comes spin number 2. The Black Prince, 2017. The Black Prince 2017 is a story of Queen Victoria and last king of Punjab, Maharaja Duleep Singh. His character as it evolves, torn between 2 cultures and facing constant dilemmas as a result. That this is way too long of a summary for me to continue. So
that is a lot.
Yeah, it's about Queen Victoria and the last king of Punjab, which is in India, I'm assuming. I'm fairly certain it's in India. It is written and directed by Kavi Raz. It is starring Jason Fleming, Amanda Root, Joe Egan, Shabana Azmi, and I'm just trying to find the guy who actually plays the king because he's not on here yet. And I feel like we should probably name him. I can't find him.
It's probably not even under name.
That's
or like
dumb.
under king.
Yeah, I'm sure he's here. I just, for the sake of time.
Yeah.
So that is The Black Prince. That is also on Netflix. So The World Is Yours has a 6.4 on IMDb and a 73 Metacritic score. The Black Prince is a 6.5 on IMDb and no Metacritic. 26 Metacritic score. Ooh. And then here comes our third spin. Sprinter, 2019. Also 2018. It says 2019 on Netflix, 2018 on IMDb. It is about a boy separated from his mother who moved to the U.S. for a better life, is set to be Jamaica's next track and field sensation. So Cool Runnings without the oddity of a Jamaican bobsled team.
This is quite a lineup we've got.
Yeah, it is written and directed by Storm Salter, also based on the characters by Robert A. Mailer. It is starring Lorraine Toussaint, David Allen Greer, that's random, Brashear Y. Gray, Chantal Jackson, Dale Elliott, etc., etc. Usain Bolt is in there. He plays himself. It has a 6.1 IMDb score, and just looking because I missed it the last one, no Metacritic score. So those are our 3 choices. We have a movie about a Jamaican sprinter, the last king of Punjab and his relationship with Queen Victoria, or a small-time dealer, I guess drug dealer or maybe car dealer. I don't know. They're not very. I'm going to say drug dealer because they say small time.
Drugs in there.
There is no big-time car dealer at a casino. Well, there might be. I don't know. So those are our choices. This is interesting.
I don't know. I think
Should we break our rule and spin it one last time?
No, I don't think so. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to do a political drama, drug movie, or a sports movie.
Just because it has Vincent Castle, I am leaning more towards The World Is Yours, but not so much that I am not willing to hear your arguments if you have any.
I mean, I don't mean to push Sprinter out of the way, but I really don't care for a sports movie.
I do in the right sense, but I don't care enough about running.
More or less this week, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
At least compared to the other two.
So Sprinter is eliminated. We are down to The World Is Yours and The Black Prince.
But I think I was actually leaning more to The Black Prince than I was The World
Is
Yours.
Really?
Mainly because when is the last time we did a political... I guess Suffragettes was the last one. What was the last drug movie? Well, fuck it. The World Is Yours.
The World Is Yours?
Yeah.
All right. So The World Is Yours is our film for next week. I already described the film and directors and such, so I'm not going to do that at Glenn. The World Is Yours. That is available on Netflix for all of those who want to watch it before listening to next week's podcast. As always, you can check out our website, www.filmschool.com. www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, Keystone_film_review. Twitter, Keystone_film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
And I am Glenn KFR.
And that was beautiful. That will do it until next week when we watch The World Is Yours, which I'm sure is exactly how they say it in the movie.
And I'm pretty sure the world isn't his if the Illuminati is involved.
You're right. It's the Illuminati's.
Netflix sponsor us.
Illuminati sponsor us.
Both.
I'll take money from anyone.
They're probably
at this
the
point.
same people.
I have no shame at this point. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.